Hello everyone, so I decided it's probably time for me to make the video that I said I was going to make a couple months ago, the how to travel on a budget, because I've gotten a few texts about where's the video you said you're going to make, in January, and it's like, oh, well, I forgot. So I have some notes so I can just shoot everything out at you guys, just get straight to the point. I'm going to make this hopefully as short as possible. I have a couple of different things that I personally use to travel on a budget, so hopefully this will work for you guys too. So the first one I wanted to talk about was accommodation. So when I go to places throughout Europe, I always stay at either an Airbnb or a hostel, and it really just depends on if I'm traveling alone or with my friends. So if I'm traveling with like one or two other friends, then we'll usually stay in an Airbnb just because it's easiest. You can all stay together, because I don't know if any of you guys have ever stayed in a hostel, but you might not get the same room as your friends, so there's not really any privacy in a hostel. So it's not like it's a bad thing, but you won't really don't bank on spending time with your friends specifically. There'll be a lot of other people there at the hostel. But I definitely just would advise against staying in hotels, because I know that that's a big thing in the States, and I know some people here. I've had some friends who refuse to stay in anything that's not a hotel because they think it's not clean for whatever reason, even though people at hotels wash sheets just the same as people in Airbnbs and hostels do. And the main thing is, when you stay at a hotel, it is nicer, but are you really traveling to that area to stay in the hotel, or are you traveling to that area to do what the area has to offer? So that's why I'm personally okay with staying in an Airbnb or a hostel. And I think they're a lot more fun, a lot better ways to make friends. Like if you stay in a hostel, you're going to meet people from all over the world who are just happen to be in the same area as you. So I have a couple of apps that I use that I'm going to share with you guys. So Airbnb obviously is the great app you use for Airbnb. There's this app called HostelWorld. It's where you can search like any city I've actually never used it in America because hostels are not as popular from what I've learned, but I'm sure it'll populate just as well as it does over here. But you just type in the city and it'll give you a huge long list of hostels available in that area. You just put in the amount of people that are coming with you, or if it's just yourself, then you just put one, obviously. And then Couchsurfer is another good app. I actually haven't used this myself, but I have a friend and he swears by it. He says it's really great. The only thing is, I know that it is, if you're not a very outgoing person, it's kind of awkward because you are staying in somebody's house, but they're still there. But I don't have a problem with that. I think that if you're out and about traveling anyway, you probably won't see them that much, but it's just kind of a personal preference. It's obviously anyway cheaper than a hotel, which is the best bet. So when you are looking at an Airbnb or a hostel, some things that I make sure that my accommodation has is, number one, Wi-Fi, because I'm going to be looking up like what is around the area, like tours and everything like that, and it's better to have internet than to be using all of your data when you are going to be using it while you're out and about anyway. So internet. A washing machine is one thing. It kind of depends how long I'm there. If I'm just there for like a 4-day weekend, how we have for work, then it doesn't really matter if it has a washing machine because I'll only bring a couple outfits anyway. But if I'm going for like a week, then I'll usually bring like one or two nice outfits, and then other clothes, just like shorts and like a t-shirt like this or something like that, and just wash them and rewear them. I mean, it's not really a big deal to me, and it's a lot comfier to walk around and stuff like this than like a dress and heels, but I've seen it. So if you want to do it, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, it does take up more space, which I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah. And then the other thing that I do look at is how the distance from the city center is, how far the Airbnb or the hostel is from not necessarily just the city center or wherever it is that you want to see. Like maybe it's like the mountainous area. You don't want to get an Airbnb or a hostel that's like all the way at the bottom of the mountain. If you wanted to stay at the top of it like the whole time, like a little mountain town is what you'd want to look for, like a little Airbnb or something like that. But sometimes it's not always the best to stay in the city center too. If you have a car or a different means of transportation, like public transportation, then it might be better to stay a little bit, like a 10-minute walk outside the city and just walk in. It's not really a big deal. But that brings me to my next topic is transportation. So before I even get started, I have some apps you guys can use for that too, whether it be you getting to the location you're going to or traveling like within the city. So Skyscanner is a great app. It's for anywhere in the world, like Europe, Asia, America, anywhere. You can use that for anything. Just put in your dates and the location, and you can even filter like if you like more than one airport. Like say you're going to like you want to go to Spain, but you don't really care if you fly into Madrid or Barcelona. It'll just let you put Spain, like the whole country. So Skyscanner is great. Ryanair is my favorite. What I use for Europe. If you're in Europe, I know I have a lot of friends that are stationed over here, not just in my area, but a lot of people that are stationed in Europe. Ryanair is my favorite. It goes to so many places all throughout Europe, and they have a lot of airports that leave out of Germany specifically, and obviously fly back in too. So it's really great. Ryanair is really good. I don't think it's a thing in America. I don't think Ryanair is a thing. I don't think there's like a Ryanair version of it, but I know that. I can't remember the name of it. Frontier and Allegiant. Those are two really good airlines that are cheap in America. I do know that. And then Wizz Air is the last one. It's for Asia and Europe. The only thing is it doesn't have that many airports, so it's kind of harder to get to and from your destination. But it's totally worth it if you want to use Wizz Air to fly to one city. And then if it doesn't quite get you home or to your destination, then you can just get another airline and just hop on their plane and fly. It's not really a big deal. If it's the same airport, it's the same airport. But really it's just comparing like for your days of your vacation and how many people and where you're flying to or from. It really all depends on your specific situation. But you just have to do your research and just figure out what's the cheapest for you. But those are my favorites. So when you're in the city or the area and you're traveling around there, number one, my favorite thing to do is just walk. I know it's not really something that a lot of people like to do because it wastes time, but in my opinion, walking is how I see like the most out of the city. And that's how you find like the hole in the wall, like restaurants and the hidden monuments kind of that nobody really talks about on the internet. And it's really the best for me that I found out just because I don't mind walking, and you just see a lot more that way. And that way if you're in a taxi and you're driving and you see something that looks really neat, you can tell him to stop so you can get out and see it, but he's just going to leave. You can't just tell a taxi, hang on, let me take a picture of this. And that's not how it works. But, so walking, obviously, and then DB Navigator. This is another one for people in Europe. DB Navigator is like the train system. It takes about the same time to take a train somewhere as it does to drive, is what I found out. It's just obviously having your own car is nice when you go anywhere, because then you can go anywhere else you want if you change your mind. So cheap train tickets. Flixbus is another one. I actually don't know. I think there is a Flixbus in America, but there's definitely Flixbus over here for all over Europe. It does take a lot longer to get to your destination, but if you're on like you have a longer period of leave. Like last summer, me and a couple of my friends went to Greece, and it was for like 2 weeks. So we obviously had time. We weren't in a hurry, and we took a Flixbus just to the airport actually, and it was like so to the airport from here. The one we went to was like an hour and 20 minutes, and the Flixbus was like €7, which is equivalent to like $8. So it's really crazy cheap, especially if you don't have anyone to drive you or anything like that, or everybody else is gone too and you just need a ride. But I think they have them in America, but I haven't looked. But Flixbus is super cheap, just takes a little bit longer. And yeah, I mean, if all else fails and you're like out one night, then I just use Uber if I really need to find a ride back. But I would try to avoid taxis as much as you can, specifically because they are always overpriced. Anywhere you go, taxis are overpriced. But yeah, Uber and then the public transportation is always great, but you just have to remember to buy a ticket because some of them check and some of them don't. But if you get caught without a ticket, then there is a really pricey fee. So you're better off just buying the ticket. So there's that. The main thing with transportation, like when you're getting to your destination, this is where a lot of people actually like are hesitant on traveling because they spend a lot of money, is because how much they pack. They overpack, and then they end up paying like $60 just for a suitcase of stuff that they don't need. So over here, well, first of all, I know in America carry-ons are free. You can always have a carry-on. And over here, even Ryanair, the really cheap airline, they have their cheapest option of their flights, because they still have like first class and everything like that. But their cheapest option comes with, it's like priority. It comes with one little carry-on. So I know carry-ons are always doable. And if your trip is less than a week, you can fit everything in a carry-on. Anybody who tells you otherwise, I don't know. You can definitely fit everything in a carry-on, but the amount you pack definitely does matter. What I just do is, and I made this mistake a lot when I first got here and I was traveling, because I paid for a checked bag, and it's like, wow, well, that's like 2 meals worth of money that I just got rid of. But I just bring the essentials. I don't bring anything fancy for my hair. I don't bring any fancy makeup or eyeshadow or anything like that. I just bring, like maybe 1 or 2 nice outfits, depending on how long it is, and then just clothes. I'll rewear them. It's not a big deal, because then a lot of times, me personally, I end up trying to do a little bit of shopping wherever I go, whether it just be for like a t-shirt or a sweatshirt. But like I also like getting a little bit of like everyone's style. So everyone has a different style. So wherever you travel, you'll notice that. And I like to bring that stuff back too, and then you can obviously wear it on your vacation too. But definitely also try to keep room in your luggage so you can bring stuff back with you. Okay, so food is the next one, which is actually where most of your money tends to go to, believe it or not. It just kind of sneaks up on you. But one thing that I do, and I forgot to say this when I was talking about the things that I look for in accommodation. So the other things I do look for is like a fridge, definitely a fridge, and then a stove or a microwave of some sort. If you're staying at an Airbnb and they don't have those things, it might be, I don't know, it might be because they don't want you to have access to them. I don't know. Most Airbnbs definitely do have them, and then hostels usually have like a common area where you can use stuff. You just have to ask. Sometimes you might have to pay like €1 or €2 extra. It's not really a big deal, but what I do the first night that I get to a place, or the first day, like on my way to the Airbnb or wherever, I stop and grocery shop and get just like breakfast stuff, and then maybe like a couple snacks. So sometimes I'll get like, depending on how long it is again, I'll get like maybe just like some pasta or something to make for a dinner, so I don't eat out every single night. But definitely breakfast, and then just like a couple, maybe like some granola bars for lunch that I just take with me while I'm out. But it's definitely better to do it that way, I've learned, and spend the money on groceries than it is to eat out, because you'd be surprised how much money it goes to. And I'm totally a foodie. Like, I love to eat out at restaurants that area is known for. But if it comes down to it, like overall, like the majority of my time I spend eating my groceries and not going out, and it does make a difference. And it's also a lot healthier too. I don't know if you're trying to be healthy, but it actually is definitely healthier, obviously, not to eat out all the time. But I think that's everything for food. And then, so money. When it comes to money in general for traveling, so what I do personally that I found has really worked out for me is I put 10% of every one of my paychecks into savings. I have a solid job, so I don't have to worry about like, getting a pay cut or getting fired or anything like that. So it's not really a big deal for me. But I also do have bills. I have my car insurance. I have my car note. I have my phone bill, Wi-Fi, everything. But I still put 10% of my paycheck into savings, and I leave my savings specifically for whether it be travel or obviously just for the future, my savings. But I do keep that money in there because for me personally, I love to travel, so I think that my savings goes, like, it's okay for me to put my savings towards traveling if I need a little help, because that's just what I'm passionate about. But yeah, that's what I do. Um, Also, another thing that I would recommend is getting a credit card that is a rewards card for travel. I know if you have like a billion credit cards, it might not be the best idea because your credit score can get a little whack. But a lot of credit cards you can get money for. Say you can get a grocery card, so every time you spend groceries, it gives you points. Or every time you have an entertainment card, every time you go see a movie or you know go to a restaurant, anything like that, then it'll give you points, and then your points might be able to go towards like Sky Miles or something like that. That's definitely a popular thing with credit cards nowadays because I think that a lot of people are starting to travel, which is really great. But there's a lot of options for credit cards that I would use, and yeah, if you just set even if you set aside your credit card, like this is my one credit card just for groceries, like you'll be surprised how quickly it adds up, whether it be points or dollars or anything like that. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to talk about. Well, the other thing I had was work, like how you get the money you have. Basically, just like some little ideas of things that I've done along the way to like the money I contribute to my savings or all the money that how I've had like growing up. So ever since I was a kid, I've always had a job, whether it be like a little like having a lemonade stand or working at Walmart or Kroger or wherever. Like I've always had a job. Like it's just always been a thing of mine. Like I want to be able to have my own money so I can get what I want. Like if I see something, I want to be able to get it. So side jobs are actually a really great thing that I have always been able to. And I have a very busy life. I have a full time job and we work. We're technically on call 24/7, and I'm working pursuing my bachelor's degree. So like I have a full schedule, but side jobs are something that you always have time for because you can make your own schedule. Like I love to dog sit and babysit. So what I do is I just post on Facebook, like our local groups. There's like a local community where there's one wherever you are. You just haven't found it if you don't know of one yet. But like around here, I just post in the community, hey, this is my name. This is what I can do. I can dog sit, babysit. These are the days that I'm available. Or if someone texts you, someone usually will message you, and then you just tell them if you're available. If you are, you are. If you're not, you're not. And then you can just sometimes you can like if you dog sit for certain people or you babysit then and they like you, then you can just rely on them and they'll just keep having you back. And it's a really good way to get money, and it's fun because I like to do that kind of stuff. So if you're into that, then that's a really easy way to get money because everybody always needs a dog sitter and a babysitter. Another thing you can do is be an Uber driver. So I actually know people who have done that, and if your car is good on gas, I would definitely make sure you have a car that's good on gas and you're okay, like you're okay with having your weekends taken up, because I think it's definitely like you get up in the morning and you turn your whatever it is on so people can get rides from you and stuff, but definitely you'll go back and forth. But if you're okay with people wasting your gas, then I think it's a really easy way to get money. I would totally do it if it wasn't like illegal over here because the taxis are really but yeah, so I definitely do that. Also, if you have a big house, then you could always rent out your house as an Airbnb yourself, or even just like a room. You can rent out private rooms in Airbnb too. So it's also, if you don't know how Airbnb works, maybe you want to rent out your own Airbnb before you go stay in one, and you can kind of know how it is, like see how you deal with people, and if you're okay with that, you're okay with that, and that's another good way to get money too if you want to meet new people. But yeah, I would definitely recommend just finding a little side job that you have that you want or you're interested in with a hobby, even if it's like going through your closet and selling your stuff like you don't wear, you don't have, I mean, you don't fit in anymore, anything like that. You can always do that too. I go through my closet like once a month as if new clothes are gonna magically appear that I want to get rid of, but whatever. But yeah, it's a really good thing. Um, so I think that's it. So then I wanted to tell you guys about sightseeing. So what I do while I'm sightseeing, like some tips that I have for that, is I always like to find like one or two restaurants, usually for dinner, kind of how I was saying earlier, that the location is kind of known for and that are like have really good reviews, and it's just like it's a really good way to get a taste of that area's like type of food, like their own cuisine, like their own cultural food. And I go to those, and then I also look for like landmarks that are around there and like what the area is known for, whether it be like they have really cool hiking trails or they have a lot of monuments or something like that. I always look that stuff up before I go so I can plan out my days accordingly, because cities can be pretty big, so you don't want to just set out one day and plan to see everything at once. So I definitely look at the areas and everything that I want to see and just kind of plan my days accordingly and just make sure that I'm able to see everything that I want. But that's another one where planning is just key for that. Like you have to plan or else you're going to be disappointed with yourself, I think. But I've also learned that every single city, I've never been to a city that does not have a free walking tour. So even though they're free, by the end of the tour guide will always, have a bag or something, and it's kind of like you donate however much you feel like they deserve. So it's good because it's not like a set price, so you don't have to worry about paying like over too high of an amount for a tour that you could have done on your own. But number one, walking tours are actually really cool because it's usually people that know the area really well, and it's a really good way to hear about the history and some little fun facts that you wouldn't know about, which I love that kind of stuff. So I'm totally like a sucker for walking tours. But what's also good about the free ones is that I think that the tour guides kind of feel like they need to earn their money. So it's usually better than the ones that, it's like a set price already from what I've learned. So that's just my experience with that. And this is another app that I wanted to tell you guys that I use. So it's called Eventbrite. Event and then Brite. So you can put in a location and it'll kind of tell you like the activities that are going on there. So like over here in Germany we have a lot of Volksfest. They're kind of just like carnivals, and you can put in a location and it'll tell you like the Volksfest in that area, or if there's like something going on, like a protest going on, or a concert, just stuff like that that's going on in the city. It'll tell you all that stuff. So like you can put in the dates for your trip, and you can just see like, hey, well, I wonder what's going on, and if it's like a really cool concert, then why not go and like meet people or anything like that. So that's a really cool app. And then I also use Yelp a lot when I'm traveling because Yelp has everything. It has like the restaurants, the top restaurants, and people review them obviously on Yelp, and restaurants. It has monuments on there. It has clubs, landmarks, everything that you want to know. Like if Apple Maps doesn't give like a review of the place you're thinking about going, Yelp is definitely a good place to find it because they review everything on Yelp. So yeah, Yelp is a very, very good one. But that's pretty much everything I have. Overall, just you have to take the time to do your research and figure out what the cheapest options are for you. If you get lazy and you're just kind of like, well, I'm just going to buy this ticket because it's the one I see right now and whatever, then there might have been one that was like $20 cheaper and you just bought that one because you're being lazy. So it's definitely about doing your own research, figuring out what is best for you and whoever you're going with. It's easy to get money for traveling. You don't need to be rich to go traveling. I couldn't even tell you how much I spend because sometimes I drive and sometimes I fly, but it's never more than like, I don't know, like $400 for a weekend. It's like not, and that's like a 4-day weekend, not like a 2-day weekend. But it's just really dependent on what you like to see. Like I like to see monuments and museums. Most museums are free. I love doing all that kind of stuff, and it's free. Maybe you like to do the expensive stuff. Maybe you like to go-karting everywhere you go, or you like to go to the 5-star restaurants, and that's totally okay. That's totally up to you. But then you have to know you are going to spend more money, so you just kind of have to expect that and just play with it a little bit. But yeah, so there's always a way to get money for traveling, and there's always time for traveling, because anybody who says they don't have time traveling isn't important enough to them, because I go to work full time. I'm working on my bachelor's, so I have work and school, and I still am able to go traveling like once a month before Corona, obviously, but we get a 4-day every month. I go once a month. I'm always going somewhere. I'll just type in different cities that I haven't been to yet, and whatever's the cheapest, I'll just go to that city. But yeah, I think a lot of people just wait on their friends and wait until someone can go with them to travel, or they're scared to go, or they don't know where to go. But sometimes, dude, you just got to put in all these different cities that you would like to go to, and whatever one's the cheapest, then just go to that one. Who cares? As long as you go one time, then that means you'll be able to go again as long as you start that initial trip. But so many people don't take advantage of traveling, and I don't get it because it's a really great thing in my opinion. But before I get off, I did want to give you guys these two websites. It helps with it tells you what countries are in what status and what states are in what status for due to like the COVID-19. So travel.state.gov is a really good place for obviously America, and then it also you can look up countries in Europe, and it'll tell you like the status of like do you have to wear a mask in public, and are the restaurants open, are the clubs open, are the bars open, or whatever. And then reopen.europa, not Europe, it's EUROPA. Reopen.europa.eu is also a really good one. I actually just found that one the other day. It'll tell you like the status of everything, like travel wise, when they're opening, what travel borders, if they're allowing, if there's a land border still, or if they're only allowing you to fly in, anything like that. So it has all that information for you guys to look up. But yeah, I'll leave the names to everything that I said in like the comments or whatever, I guess, so you guys don't get lost in the sauce. But yeah, I hope this was what you guys expected. So have fun.